alternatives. Yeah, but that won't solve America's issues. That's all. Trump can go to prison and then we would still be stuck politically. And that would be due to our economic situation. And that is because the people in charge of our economy are so powerful that they're taking over our political sphere. And then they are brainwashing a majority of the population so that we vote against our own interests. But that's where we're talking about the economy and how working 40 hours a week doesn't cover the basics anymore, and how us being stuck economically causes us to be stuck politically. And this didn't used to be normal. Shit didn't used to be like this. Working 40 hours a week and still having the stress of making it by is not something that people had to do often. So we have to ask something. Why can somebody do everything right and still fall farther behind? If you're feeling that, drop a me in the comments. How is it that somebody can do everything right and still fall farther behind? It's so frustrating. Because here's the truth. The people up top know we don't have money. And they do that on purpose because they know that's leverage over us. That is leverage. Because if you don't have savings, like legit, like 3 months, 6 months worth of savings in the bank, you're stuck. You have to keep that crappy job. You can't tell the boss no when they force you to work overtime. You can't negotiate a new salary because you don't have any leverage. The boss knows, why would I pay you more? You would work for less because you're so stuck, right? And that's why it hits all of us so hard. It's insane. You can do everything right, nose to the grindstone, 24/7, busting your butt for a company that's successful, mind you. And it'll still be difficult to cover food, housing, and healthcare. Notice, those are things that humans need to live, to survive. Food and housing and healthcare. Drop a me if you feel this right now, because we all are feeling this, that working 40 hours a week just doesn't cut it anymore. And then they make us feel crazy for wondering about that. That's what's so frustrating. People didn't have to used to work more than 40 hours a week and still not have enough. And if they were working 40 hours a week and still didn't have enough, we would say something about it, right? Like something would happen. Well, the first thing that would happen is we'd stop shopping there, right? We'd go to the local competitor, the local mom and pop shop. So the first thing corporations did was, let's get rid of the local mom and pop shop. Let's run them out of business. Because it's only that because there are competitors around that people are able to walk out of our big box store. And I don't want to pay our employees more money to smile at the customers and make them feel welcome. What I'd rather do is run that local general store, local grocery store, local pharmacy, local newspaper. They're all out of business, y'all. There used to be community banks. Those are gone too. Local hardware stores. Gosh, you could actually go in there and have somebody that was knowledgeable, that cared about you. And they cared about you not just because you're a customer. They care about you because you're a part of the community. And small businesses understand that the health of their business relies on the health of the community, right? The health of their business relies on the health of their community. Nobody's angry, Rowdy. We're just saying, why are corporations more important than your family? Why is it that the company that we pay to take care of us and provide us health care would rather let us not survive so they can hit their quarterly bonuses? We're not angry. We're just asking questions. But what we do recognize is that every time we just ask questions, somebody goes, oh, why are you angry? Because what you've done, Rowdy, is you have internalized the system. And when I say the system is screwing people over, you take personal offense to that. Because the system is all you've ever known. I say, like, if somebody only ever grew up with horses and I came along and said, hey, I think cars are better, somebody would go, whoa, too early for angry there. And I'd go, no, you like horses. I like cars. Here are the reasons why. And Aspen, I appreciate you dropping that me, because so often they rigged the game so that we can't get ahead. And then Aspen, they make us feel crazy for it. Anytime we open our mouth about it, we get told that you're crazy, lazy, not working hard enough. And it's like, well, wait, that's not the question I asked. The question I asked is, why am I working 40 hours a week for a company that made 10 billion in profit last year? And I still can't afford my rent. That doesn't make sense. Well, it only makes sense in the context that they keep us broke because they know that if we don't have savings, they have leverage over us. And if you don't have leverage to say no, to say screw that, if you have to pay your rent the next month, you can't say no, right? Because humans have basic needs to live: our food, our housing, and our healthcare. And they figured out that if they took away those basic needs, we would do anything to get them. That's all it really comes down to. The ultra wealthy took away our basic necessities and realized we would do anything to get them. So they keep us broke to keep us stuck, basically. And then the worst part, they blame us. They keep us broke to keep us stuck. And then they tell us, work harder, budget better, move somewhere else. And then that is what is so frustrating, because we come in here every day, we put the actual numbers up, and people still say, it's not like that. It's not like that. That's not the way it is. So, Creole Girl, appreciate that. We are doing something about it. We are pushing back. Because the other question is, why are we all so frustrated about this? Why are we all feeling that there is a problem, but then either people say, no, there's not a problem, or we fight about what the solution is? Like, here's the way it is. We recognize that a bunch of people are brainwashed, right? But rather than asking, why did these people get brainwashed, we go ahead and get mad at them for being brainwashed. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that, everybody. Well, it's so frustrating, right? Working 40 hours a week for 40 years and still barely have enough to make ends meet. It is a freaking rigged carnival game. And then every time you talk about that it is a rigged carnival game, what happens, EDM? They tell us, "Nuh-uh, you're just lazy. You should work harder." And it's like, no, you can't deny the reality that 80% of Americans are understanding that 210 million people are recognizing that this is not the way life should be. It's almost always been like that, right? Where we should have always set up society so that the majority of people can reach their fullest potential. But instead, we've set up society so that people measure themselves not based on how many people they helped or how they were a service to their community. People measure themselves based on how much money they make. But then how much money you make is entirely dependent on who you were born to. That's the problem. How much money you make in life is almost entirely dependent on who you were born to. So the game is rigged. And even though the game is rigged, you feel the pressure, we feel the shame, we feel the isolation. And that's why we put the me's in the chat. So type me if you feel this, because it's not just you, it's all of us. And god damn, it's so frustrating when 80% of people are feeling the pressure and feeling the squeeze, and we don't even want to argue about it. We're not arguing that we feel the pressure or feel the squeeze. All we're saying is, can we try to fix it? Can we try to fix it? That's what we're saying. So we're done pointing the fingers. Grumpy, you have hit the nail on the head. But that's where we are pushing back against that, because we don't think that it's not just that people are asleep, right? We think enough people are awake. It's just that enough people are awake, but we don't have any options other than corporations. Grumpy, the way that I've been saying it is that it used to just be that if we stood up and spoke up, politicians would listen. And when politicians listen, the corporations followed in suit. But now the politicians work for the corporations. That's the problem. The politicians work for the corporations. So now when we stand up, it's crickets from the politicians, because the politicians don't care about us. They only care about making the corporations happy. So what we need to do if we want to build back leverage, because right now we don't have any leverage. We're so dependent on the corporations, and the politicians and corporations both know how dependent we are on them. We're so dependent on the corporations that it's screwed us over politically, because the strongest thing that we can do is have savings, is be able to boycott and strike. So what I think we should be pushing towards is the ability to boycott and strike, because boycotting is just having leverage about where our money goes, and striking is just having leverage about where our labor goes. But right now, corporations dominate so much that we can't just boycott. Because that's the thing, Creole Girl. Even if every single person did everything they can to not shop at corporations, we'd still have to shop at corporations. Because we get our gasoline from corporations, our health insurance from corporations, our internet from corporations. We all pay our rent and our mortgage to corporations. So the next step, we've got these steps, and we just need to get as many people to walk down these steps as possible. And it's not even about getting to the end, right? It's just do one of these 4 steps. That's what it is, Creole Girl. That's where I hope you think I'm not picking on you, because what you're doing is important. It's just that this the tool I use. So we speak out, right? We figure out something's wrong, and we start speaking out. Then like Creole Girl and I both did. It's like, all right, I want to do something else, right? I'm speaking out. Now I'm going to start changing my choices. I'm going to stop going to corporations. I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to do everything I can. And the hard part is, oh, awesome, R-Starter. Give me 1 second. And the hard part is we recognize that, dang, no matter what we do, it still doesn't seem to be enough. Well, that's not our fault. Corporations set it up, so we have to be dependent on them. You see, corporations needed to make more and more profit every single year. But if they just raise the prices of light bulbs are good, of tape, right? We just would stop buying tape and we'd figure something else out. So corporations are like, dang, if we want to make more profit year after year, what if we controlled their food? Then when we raise the prices, people would have to work to shop to keep buying food, right? You can't not eat food. So what it all comes back to is that we talk about the economy and how working 40 hours a week doesn't cover the basics anymore. Then they know that if we don't have money, they have leverage over us. Real leverage, because if we don't have savings, we can't say no. And I often say, we act like we're in the land of the free, but if you can't purchase food at the grocery store, if you can only buy rice and beans, do you really feel free? You're right, grumpy old bastard. I could say corporations that exploit people. Really, what I talk about is corporations where with their CEO is $500 million and above. Like if one person has $500 million or $1 billion, then most likely they have exploited a lot of people to get there. And because what they know is that we are stuck. If we don't have savings, we are stuck. So they make it, and the only reason they can make it so we don't have savings is they got rid of all the local competitors. There's no more mom and pop shops, right? So there's nothing that we can even do to push back, because that's why boycotting is so important. Boycotting is leverage about where our money goes. They took away our leverage. Striking is leverage over where our hard work goes. They took away our leverage. So we have to build back our leverage. That's really the first step. So, and we do that. Let me get to you real quick here, R-Starter, because I appreciate you being in each day. So what we are doing is a lot of different things. We have our own initiatives that we are starting across the country. And really, one of the main parts is bring people together, form local groups. Those local groups find local alternatives, build local alternatives, add to mutual aid, help create the alternative economy, support the alternative economy, all those different kinds of things. And we've also connected, we have this large umbrella organization with over 100 different organizations across the country. So it's essentially we are joining up with them while also doing our own initiatives. And rather than having Indivisible, 5051, and all these different groups operated in the same area, we are trying so hard to connect everyone. Because what it really is about is the mass actions are incredible. It's the very first step. But the next step after that is staying connected. That's what it really comes down to. Because then we can make the next action bigger and the next action bigger. But the main reason we want to stay connected is because the large protests, rallies, that's when we get our frustration out and come together locally. But what we really need to do is be able to get out from under the thumb of corporations, because we're so dependent on corporations that they keep us stuck. That's really what it comes down to. We are so dependent on corporations that they keep us stuck. So that's what we are trying to fix, is that if we can be less dependent on corporations, we won't be as stuck. So the whole goal is to create local options so that we're able to be less dependent. And that's the whole point, where we've got the momentum loop, where the large actions all support each other. And then here's where it comes in. Because, yeah, we've got a lot of activities ourselves, right, that we're doing. But the big thing is we also amplify the activities of others. Flare is another one. So Flare has figured out, much like we need to get people connected across the country. They have an initiative where everybody goes to their state representatives, or wherever your closest representative really is. It's like any representative. And we all go at the same day and the same time. And that shows them that, look, and we basically spend one day where we are booking their meetings the whole day, where we are coming in and we're saying the same thing over and over again. Hey, we are sick of this. We want to see a change. So, Android, we don't have to. So there's basically, those are the people that are brainwashed. And rather than getting upset at the people that are brainwashed, we are going to be flipping the script on the people doing the brainwashing. David, appreciate you dropping that me. But basically, there are so many people that do not want what is happening in our country, that it is really only about 30% of people that actually want this. But the fact is, those 30% of people have the billionaire's thumb on the scale. So if we can show people that, nope, you are being manipulated by a bunch of billionaires that are using your racism and lack of education to further their interests while you vote against your own interests. But most of the time, explaining things to people is going to get you nowhere. Have you met an adult human recently? We don't change our minds very well. So we could spend all of this time and effort trying to convince people, especially convince the people that are brainwashed. But what I say is, let's just build something that works better. That's so much rather what I would see. Because rather than arguing with somebody that they should stop going to corporate grocery stores and start going to local grocery stores, what if we just made the local grocery store experience better? That's what it is, right? That's what it is. Because if we are trying to get people to change from the system and do it like as a favor or as a chore to us, people are never going to do that, especially en masse, right? What we really need to do is create something that works better for people. Because what it is we don't use this system because we want to. We're all a part of this system out of habit. This is where I normally call out my 80s babies. Where are my 80s babies at? Where are my 80s babies? We heard whispers of a different world, but I never lived in it. I just heard my parents talk about, this isn't how it used to be, right? This isn't what used to be America was all about. We used to have local grocery stores. And if the corporate grocery store was acting a fool, we could walk our ass out. And that was really the thing that kept them in check, was when we went into Walmart. And if the Walmart employees sneered at us like they do now, we would walk our asses out and go to Whimsy's general store, right? Whimsy, you are so right. That's exactly what this is all about, is that corporations keep us dependent. Because they are dependent, they keep us stuck. So, Ars Daughter, the one thing is it's not a rush, I guess, where it's better to find something that works better because that's all that people know. Because why go to the bigger ones to begin with? Because here's the cycle. because corporations keep us broke. They keep us broke to keep us dependent on them. And the other reason they keep us broke is because then we have to shop at the places with the cheapest prices. And they're the places with the cheapest prices. So it's not that we go to the bigger ones to begin with. We're dependent on them. We all get funneled into one of the major banks, Wells Fargo, to Vanguard, right? We all grow up eating their food, their corporate food. We all grow up going to their restaurants. It's not that we want this. That's why I call out my 80s babies, because we grew up in this world. I don't know anything different than buying my laundry detergent from the grocery store. I'm going to go try to buy it, go try to make my own, right? Everything is insane, Kevin. And that's really what we're saying. So let's go ahead. So we've established corporations are screwing us over to keep us dependent. Honestly, because they got rid of all of the mom and pop shops, so we couldn't go shop anywhere else. It's basically about boycotting and striking. Boycotting is, and then we don't have leverage. Boycotting is leverage to choose where we want to shop at. But right now, we don't have that leverage. Striking is leverage to choose how our hard work gets implemented. We don't have leverage for that either. So if we literally have no leverage against the people that control us, then why would they listen to us? That's really what it comes down to. They don't have to. They don't have to. So Jennifer, we are with you. And that's what we're building towards. But we don't think that that's feasible right away, because there's always been people that provide the goods and services. And what corporations really do is they're the people that connect us with the goods and services. So what we're saying is we need a group of connectors, not as owners, not as egotistical assholes, but as stewards. That's all that we need to fix this. Community stewards. I have to say that I've got a small business and I am completely dependent on the health of my community for my small business. And I truly believe that it is the stewardship is what made us successful, because that is what's so important, right? So Whimsy, anything having to do with political change won't happen until we gain leverage, because right now we don't have any leverage for them to listen to us, right? So Carolyn, what we are doing is we have our Discord link first, and then we are working together to bring people in, right? It's going to be difficult. So as we have these big protests and rallies, we're going to have printable sheets that you can take out and give to people, right? And then as even right now, we are doing different ways to recruit people. We're getting 2 or 3 people. We're in every single city already. I mean, you can see the map. So we're getting 2 or 3 people per state, per city. And we're writing letters to the local editors, letters to as many places as we can to get published, to get our voices heard. Number 1, local politicians read that shit. Number 2, it's how we're starting to recruit locally without having to leave our homes. But come March, April, May, holy cow, we have all these events happening, and it is going to be so much going on, because it starts with the momentum loop and we build from there, because that's where it's not just about mass actions. It's about staying connected throughout the mass actions. And so we've got blackout the system. So that's where we will get there, Carolyn. That's where, because one of the things we're starting now. What's that, Jennifer? Sorry. So Carolyn, we'll find people across New York, right? And then maybe it won't be in your area right away, but we'll find somebody that is near you, right? And Kevin, appreciate you dropping that. So let me give a quick recap for everybody. So Kevin, we dropped the me's in the chat because god dang, we're all working 40 hours a week. We're not able to save any money, and then they blame us. So Normally, because we feel ashamed, we stay quiet. And us staying quiet is what keeps them in power. It gives them power. So this is the place where we stop saying quiet. We raise our hands up and say, I feel this. Because all that they're doing is they're gaining leverage over us. Corporations and politicians figured out if we are broke, if we don't have any savings, like 3 months or 6 months of savings, you have to keep working that shit job. You don't have leverage to say no. You have to work overtime. You can't say no. Boss said he'll fire you if you do. And that's why we are all feeling the same thing. Nose to the grindstone, busting your butt for a company that we hear about record profits quarter after quarter, but you're still not able to afford food, housing, or healthcare. And what's so crazy is that when we bring this up, they blame us, right? They blame us for it. So what we are doing is we are building back our leverage. We need to be able to strike. We need to be able to boycott. Those are the strongest things. Carolyn, that is awesome. Oh, that's where Carolyn right now, it is all about dropping those things in the chat, right? So that's what it is. They make us feel like it is our fault, but the economy doesn't work for us anymore. It works against us. And when we try to bring that up, we are told that we're lazy, right? But the stock prices go up and up and up, but our salaries stay the same. And then when the cost of living and the salary are the same thing, nobody in America is saving any money. And why does that matter? Because if we don't have money, they have leverage. Think about it. Being able to walk away is the strongest thing you can do. Whether it's in your relationship, whether it's with a roommate, and you sure as hell bet it's the biggest thing you can do with your job. Because if your boss needs you and you tell your boss, I'm walking my ass out of here. I'm going to be going for at least 2 weeks, maybe even 4. I'll only come back if you fix this shit. Because right now I'm doing all the work and I'm not getting paid enough to live. And think about it. If you didn't have savings, you couldn't say that, right? You couldn't say that. Well, MBW, they actually, it's even worse than that. They figured out that we depend on them so much that they don't need to keep us happy. MBW, it's basically like one company rules the entire country. That's really how it is. Imagine living in a town where the only place to work and shop and eat is all owned by Walmart, literally. So there's Walmart General Store, Walmart Grocery Store, Walmart Gas Station. You can only go to different restaurants. They have different names on them, but they're still owned by Walmart, right? So that's where we are in America. 85% of companies on the S&P 500 have the same 3 top shareholders, right? 85%. So that's what's so funny to me, Chris, is they're not here to talk or listen. Their feelings are hurt. Isn't it funny, Chris? Their feelings are hurt. Shrink wrap guy, you don't seem as somebody who'd be so sensitive, but we apologize for the sensitivity. All we're saying is corporations don't care about you, and that seems to get you in a rustle. Why is it, America? We all do this, right, One Hero? Right, Chris? We all feel it. We all know this. It's like we lived through something, Eek. We've lived through this. And then Shrink Wrap comes in and goes, that's not the way it is. Sorry. Your environment and your experiences have shaped your understanding. But when 220 million people come and say, this is our understanding, this is our environment, this is our experiences, and you just go, nope. Well, I'm sorry. You're not someone that we care about listening to. So that's where somebody asked earlier, what do we do about the people that are so self-absorbed? We move on. who cares who's next, right? So if you are feeling this, come in our Discord. Discord link is in the bio. Because what we're really doing in the Discord is we're breaking out by state. We're breaking out by state. Organizing Okies, I saw you. I hope I can use you here. So it's just like this. We got Organizing Okies is one of the 90 people that are here. Anytime we get somebody from Oklahoma, I'm like, hey, thanks for being with us. But there's this great organization on the ground, Organizing Okies, right? Go join them too. So that's where our umbrella organization, we've got hundreds of local groups that are all a part of it. One Hero, hop on in. We'll see what's going on in Alabama, right? And that's what our goal is to connect with the Alabama organizers. You know what I mean? And we've already got them. We're finding them every single day. That's the thing. Daniel, you are right. That's all. So BV, this is a perfect question because I get it. You're trying to get me. We all have to use Amazon. You ever heard Amazon Web Services takes about 80-90% of our internet's traffic? So if you use the internet, you use AWS. And that is my whole point. No matter how much we try to change, right? We still have to use corporations. Not because we want to, because we freaking have to. They're the only option, right? That's what it is. They are the only option. So it's not just about changing our personal choices, because just doing that will never solve it. So we've got the 4 things we need. Speaking out. That's the thing that we need everybody to do. Then after that, yes, change your personal choices. But if you think about it, there's only so much personal change that we can make because we have to use AWS. Not only that, we all pay our mortgage and our rent to giant corporations, right? And that's where, so let's all do the little exercise. So we see BV, let's say goodbye to BV because we don't need to talk to BV. I want to talk to all the other people in the room that are saying, yes, I understand this. Because what BV is doing is they have not had experiences or an environment that shapes their understanding. Trump said it best. He loves the uneducated for a reason. So we have to understand, and that's where Eat the Brave, that's where it's, yeah. So Daniel, you are going very much along the lines of individualism, do it yourself. Well, I can go ahead and tell you that no human being in history has done anything themselves. We are all dependent on others. No human being in history has done it themselves. We're born as babies and we don't. It's so funny. Daniel taught himself how to speak. Daniel, you taught yourself how to speak? That's incredible. As soon as you crawled out of the womb, nobody took care of you. You as a baby were able to just, how did you learn how to speak, Daniel? How did you learn how to speak? No, I'm talking about all humans need other humans. We're not talking about just babies here or just adults here. Even as you're an adult. So did you build your own car? Do you pave your own roads? How did you get your education, Daniel? Didn't you use somebody else's? And this is where their feelings are what matter. They don't care about facts. Daniel felt like he did it himself. What I was saying went against that, and he couldn't handle it, right? He couldn't handle it. So there's no reason to try to spend our time talking to that person, right? There's no reason. Daniel, you get in a car every morning that you didn't drive. You drive on a road that you didn't pave. You go to stores and buy things that you didn't make. It's so funny when we have these, pull yourself up by your bootstrap people that simply have been so brainwashed, right? We're not mad at Daniel. He's brainwashed. He thinks he did it all himself, which is so freaking funny in a world where we depend on everyone, right? It's really funny. It's so funny. Yeah, you're on TikTok, right? So literally by being on here, isn't that funny? Yep, Caleb, Android. And this is where it's not worth talking to these people, right? It's not worth it. We can use it as some, understanding, but I would not want to spend my time trying to convince Daniel. I want to talk to R's daughter. I want to talk to Android, right? That's it. That's fun. And I want to talk to Chris, right? That's the real thing, is that people don't understand that they have just been lied to. They've been told, because that's what's so funny. He immediately goes, no, adults. Well, it's really our education that helps determine our skills, and our skills determine our compensation. So honestly, what happens as children when we get our education is what mostly affects our skills, and those skills affect our job. Yeah, Brian, we depend on people's hard work. And so that's where, just like that, Jeff Bezos depends on all of his drivers' hard work. Nobody can deliver 1 million packages in a day. You need to rely on those 10,000 people, on their grit, on their determination, right? Wow. This is where, can you believe that? We could have spent time talking to that person, right? And that's where it's just, there's no reason, huh? So what we are doing is protests on their own. The protests are the right step, but they're not going to work without having it connected. That's what this is really all about. We need to stay connected, because what we are doing is we are forming mass actions. These mass actions help us find more people, right? So, and here we go. We got another one. Brian, he thinks that some people are just lazy, right? Even though we had all of these me's in here already telling us, yo, I'm working 40 hours a week. I'm busting my butt. And then Brian goes, no, it's only those that are working, not those that we carry. And I always think it's so funny, because whenever somebody says that, I assume they're the lazy one. Because, man, when I thought that stepping up and sacrificing for others was one of the strongest things you can do. And now it's like anytime, it's like people are weak, right? That's really what it is. And there we go. So let's bring it up, because, man, these people, I try to not let it annoy me, but it's the purposeful ignorance that annoys me. If people didn't understand, then it's one thing. It's the, oh, I know everything. And then it's coming from a person who is literally just repeating the same talking points on Fox News, right? And it's never like what I want is to be challenged. It's always, they're lazy. You know what I mean? It's like the same four things. So here's why Brian is the way he is. People respond differently to the system based on environment and experiences. That's it. Brian's had different experiences than us, and he's not able to extrapolate others' experiences into his own. It's called empathy. So Brian believes, right there we go. Either people believe there's no problem at all, or these are my favorite ones. These are the real brainwashed people. Oh, there's no problem. It just comes down to personal choice. Ha! That's so funny. So that's where really these top two, there's no problem at all, and it just comes down to personal choice. We don't really need to deal with them, right? Because It takes so much time and effort and energy to convince them. This isn't about it convincing. This is about building something better. Because if we build something better, we won't have to convince people. When a system is this far gone, it doesn't get fixed, right? It just gets replaced. Something else comes in that works better, and we stop working there. So that's what we are doing. We aren't going to try to convince 50 million people to change their mind, especially when this system is all they've ever known. What we are going to do is we're going to build something better. Wouldn't it be nice to have health insurance companies that don't try to let us not survive? Wouldn't it be nice to have food companies that didn't put sawdust in our Parmesan cheese? Chris, you're good, my friend. If somebody really thinks that corporations are less important than their family, that's all we're really asking. Why are corporations more important than the people that work there? Right? Isn't a corporation just a bunch of employees, but we put the corporation above all? Oh, maybe it's because the people that run the corporation have all the money and they use that money to rewrite the laws. So Brent, what we have to do is we're actually doing it. We just need to take one more step. So we need to put pressure on the system, protest, and be loud. But that can't be the end goal. The goal of the protest has to stay connected afterwards. What I want to see is 1,000 local action groups, and those 1,000 local action groups start a million small businesses. And those million small businesses, they don't offer more than what the corporation can offer, but what they can do is they can care more. Chris, we've got two different things you can do though. So it's not just about being patient, because that's what the whole design is twofold, because we know people aren't going to be patient. So do you want to start now? Here we go. We got 8 different things that you can do to start now. And people across the country are already doing these. Brian, that is rudimentary thinking. I've already gone over why that's incorrect. It's super easy to see that you can't get your health insurance anywhere other than the health insurance companies, and we need health insurance. What you're forgetting is that 80-90% of Americans live within 2 miles of a corporate grocery store. How close is the local grocery store? How much is it cheaper, right? Eat mud, rat, we are all with you, but we've got to take a step somewhere, right? What I pointed at is we're a giant ship that's pointing north. Where you're talking, we need to turn it all the way around, but we got to at least start turning it somewhere, right? There you go, Chris. That's exactly what it is. And that's where... And as we can see, number one, Brian, you are just about the age that we all thought you were. We all know that. Because the real difference is people that experienced a different country, right? That's where it's our 70s and 80s babies. We started experiencing corporate America, and people that are over 55 and 60, they got to live in community America. It's the only difference. So Brent, we've got people right there. Chamber of Commerce, local government. And if you join us, you'll be already connected with either people in your area, or the cool part is, even if there's nobody in your area, you're connected with other people across the country that are already doing this too. So Discord link is in the bio. I got about 3 minutes left, y'all. If anybody has any questions. So that's what this is. Because it all comes down to, so Chris said earlier, you're more patient than me, my guy. And I thought, oh, damn, that's what this is all about. And so this is where I made this, because I'm like, well, wait, sometimes I want to build long term, and sometimes I'm pissed off and I want to do something right away. Well, if we can make it so that we are staying connected and we're funneling our efforts, then the people who want to do something short term, are then able to support the actions of people that want to do something long-term, because they're like, all right, we're building long-term. What we need from the short-term people is to help recruit, help spread the word, because that's why speaking out is absolutely the most important thing that we can do. Nothing happens without speaking out. But speaking out is also a lot more effective when we know who we're speaking to. So that's why I have that whole chart about understanding people's, experiences and environment is what actually leads to what shapes their worldview, right? So the more that we can understand where they're coming from, where the people that say, no, this isn't the way life is, it's like, where are you coming from? Well, everybody that they know, they've never seen this affect anyone. It's never affected them. So that's where what we've got to understand. And that's what's so funny, Brian, is they always say, good luck, right? I never get hit with, there's not a problem. Brent, you have to go to a different outside browser. That's what it is. You have to go to a different outside browser. Dozer, I'm not afraid. You don't have to be afraid either. No reason to talk in apocalyptic language. No need to be fearful. So, Eek the Brave, that is what we are building up to. I see the conversation you and Caleb were having. That is what we're building up to. We just don't believe that we can build up to it. And what it is even if it was 11 million people, you know what they would look at is they would go, how long can we check, right? How long can we stay here for? So I think if we didn't take back some of our dependency, because this is the part that I haven't really gone over today. It's not just about getting 11 million people in the streets, especially if those 11 million people go to the corporate grocery store and buy their groceries the very next day, right? Is it all about, are they going to pay their rent and their grocery store to the very next day? Jay Mosh, absolutely, because the society we've become hasn't always been this way. This corporate states of America wasn't always like this. And it wasn't like this, not because we chose it to not be like this. It was like this because that's what used to work for us better, right? That's what used to work for us better. So, Caleb, we've got some feelings about mutual aid. We understand. But mutual aid, when the going gets tough, that's the first thing cut, right? What we need are community stewards, businesses that function as mutual aid hubs, co-ops. That's what it is, because we can never win unless we reduce our dependencies on corporations. Corporations, I got to leave right after this, but corporations don't do shit. Corporations don't grow the food. Somebody in your county grows the food. Corporations aren't the doctors, right? Corporations, or the doctors are the ones that provide healthcare, not corporations. So somebody in your county wants to provide you food that's at an affordable price. Somebody in your county wants to provide you health care at an affordable price. But somehow, frickin' corporations take all of the profits. So that's where we have got to come in. And before we start thinking about anything big, food and health care, let's take back the things we need to live, because we're looking for leverage. We're looking to build our leverage. Eek, would love for you to join the Discord. We're looking to build our leverage, because we need to not ask for our voices to be heard, but to demand for our voices to be heard. And the way we demand for our voices to be heard isn't by getting more people. It's by reducing our dependency. So they know that even if we had 1 million people protesting, that they know, shit, they're never going to come back to the corporate grocery store. All those 1 million people have local food buying groups, and they go buy directly from the farmer. And then all those 1 million people, they don't need our health insurance anymore. They just go directly to their local doctor. And when I talk about leverage, not needing corporations, that's leverage. And if we remember that corporations and politicians work together to keep us broke, because if we are broke, they have power over us. They have control over us. So once we realize this, Caleb, I often talk about John Lewis Day on Good Trouble. I heard a line that day that said John Lewis did not walk across that bridge because he thought that the walls would come crumbling down afterwards and that America would be changed. That great man walked across that bridge because he understood that I've got to show other people that you can walk across this bridge too. And that's what this group really is doing. That's why I bring up the 80s babies, because we think this is the life that we're supposed to live, that we have always lived. But as soon as people see that we can create a world and an economy and a country that works for us instead of against us, that's what I'm talking about, y'all. We won't have to convince them. We won't have to convince them. My dad loves Walmart. MAGA loving Florida Republican Walmart attendant. If you go to him and say, Dad, the system's broken and da-da-da-da, right? Yeah, whatever. But if I go, Dad, there's this local farmer that's offering eggs and bread and 4 or 5 other weekly staples for a cheaper price, or for the same cheap price, and they'll know your name every time you go there. That dude will actually care about you. Well, no matter how much my pops loves Walmart, he would change. Yeah, there we go, Chris. I've been trying to figure out how to say that. Because you're a neighbor. You're not just a customer. God damn, Chris. Hell yeah. Because that's where people that live in your community, that's where I started thinking about this, because I have a small business. I'm like, oh my God, I love my community. I love my team, because without them, I wouldn't be here. The health of my business is determined by the health of the community. And if we have small business people that are the stewards of our food, that are the stewards of our healthcare, and we're their neighbor before we're their customer, shit, that's the world that I want to live in. And that's the world that we are building. Damn, I appreciate you all. That was fun today. I got to get going. Join the Discord. So not only that, I'm here live every day at 11 a.m. Go follow us on YouTube as well, too, because it's more consistent there. And then we have weekly meetings every Sunday, because I want to hear from y'all. I want to hear what you're doing in your community. I want to hear what makes you excited. I want to hear where you say, yes, give me that thing. I'm going to go find a friend or two to put them in the Discord. Because this is a civic force. This is 1,000 movements that all know this is the moment to build the community that we need to rival the rigged system. Let's fix this shit. Here every day at 11 a.m. Chris, I appreciate you too. Appreciate everybody that contributed. Thank you all so much. It makes me so happy and fills my cup. I will be here again tomorrow and the next day and the next day until we start building the leverage